Words will fail us to say thank you for joining us as always here on Global Morning. This is Global Television live in Abuja, Nigeria's capital. I am Uyi Agbomofwegbe, Priscilla Obasi. What a pleasure, what a delight to see you looking amazing on a Tuesday morning.
Oh, thank you very much. Good morning, Uyi, and good morning to our wonderful viewers this morning.
Good to see you.
Thank you.
All right. It's a great day already upon us. I felt the breeze on my way to work this morning. I was in between. Should I pick an umbrella or just head straight to work, believing strongly that I will not be trapped in it. But here I am, all dry and ready to do my job.
And then for me, I was a bit excited because, I mean...
you wanted the rain?
I really do. I want the rain. The weather has been, hot.
A bit unfriendly, scorching sun.
Unfriendly, not a bit. I think extremely unfriendly, if you ask me. But then we're still hopeful that we'll have the showers before the end of today.
All right, so please, one favor we're going to ask of you is join your faith with Priscilla's and let it rain.
Let it rain.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. Well, quite a number of things are unfolding in our very eyes. Basically issues around insecurity, of course, politics and what have you. Yesterday, by the way, the president had what Americans call a sit-down with security chiefs. We're hearing that meeting was called on two fronts, or if you like, on two bases. First, because of the advisory that the U.S. Had issued to say, look, it's non-emergency staff and their families should evacuate the country. Second is on account of these strikes, we hear strike, yes, in Borno State. How that meeting turned out, we're not so sure, but for the most part, news this morning is reporting that the president is now taking what could be perhaps best described as a hardline stance against insecurity. You and I spent a chunk of time talking about the same issues yesterday. Okay,
so we're taking that step right now. And I'm asking, why are we taking it now?
Better late than never.
Okay. Well, let's see what unfolds, right? As I say, better late than ever. As long as it will yield results.
The desired results.
The desired results. As long as we're not doing it to protect some name. Because, there can be a facade to just put out there. Because,
let's give the impression we're working.
Yeah, let's give the impression we're working. So as long as that is not the motive, as long as indeed we're trying to protect Nigerians, because ultimately it is for us to protect Nigerians, not even to protect other citizens that come to visit us. No, Nigerians are priority. So I'm wondering if we're reacting because maybe the US has been, has showed some sort of concern. It's quite embarrassing for the US to say, oh,
we can't guarantee your safety.
Guarantee your safety. It's a slap. It's a big slap on the president's face, right? That the U.S. or you cannot have other country, citizens come to your country and feel safe. How much more your citizens? Right. There are lots of things to consider with this whole drama of insecurity. It's not even drama at this point again. I don't know what to call it, but I'm just wondering, all the whole reassurances we've been given in time past, has it been, where has it come, where's it coming from? Is it coming from a place of the regular consolation? Because it looks like what is going to come out of this meeting is the in thing. So when you told
me... So you are not expectant?
I am actually, but I'm not happy with the fact that we're receiving a double assurance now. We should have received it before now. That's what I'm saying.
Okay, so the timing is a concern for you? The
timing is a concern. We had the president go over to Jos after the incident happened in Jos. We did not see that reassurance, right? Even if he said, it's going to be the last time. And then we saw something play out again. And now we're hearing we are doing better or we're going to do something drastic to end insecurity.
And we're meeting with the security chiefs.
What is that? Is it that these people they don't even allow their words hold water anymore? Is it that they don't care about the utterances they make? Is it that it's so insignificant again? Because I don't understand how you say this is the last time this will happen. It happens, and then you're coming to say we're doing something extremely different this time around to end it. So it's not tallying for me, really. It is not tallying. So you have put yourself in that place where Nigerians cannot even trust you anymore. Because why should I trust a president that says it's the last time it happens, and now he's saying it will not happen, we're doing something different? At the end of the day, we don't have a choice but to give him the benefit of doubt, as long as he's the one in power.
And as much support as we can.
Yeah, there's nothing we can do than to support him. But we are hoping, and we are still going to trust again, even if we don't have a choice. We'll still give him the benefit of doubt to do what he says he will do, to make the drastic change, to bring the improvements, whatever it is that will stabilize our security, or that will stabilize the safety, or Nigerians and their safety in this country. We're looking forward to it. But honestly, I'll keep saying it. Nigerians, you've got your life in your hands. Do whatever you can do to protect yourself. Do not depend on what anybody says. Do not go where you don't need to go. Guard yourself as much as you can. And I mean, that's the best you can do, or we can do for ourselves at this point.
Interesting. I mean, there's a very, there's a point that stands out for me from what you said. I mean, first of all, the Jos incident. The president gets to the airport, says a few things, makes commitment, then he has this emotional moment, so to say, with this lady and her baby. Oh, I wish I didn't remember that. All right, you flip to the other incidents. The US says, look, we can't guarantee the safety of our people on the ground in Nigeria. Therefore, we are particularly advising, if possible, we can even say directing, non-emergency workers, Americans, and their families to evacuate as quickly as possible. And then the next thing we know is just after that, there's a strike with, by some accounts, over 100 casualties.
Over 200, over 400. We've seen conflicting numbers. As a matter of
hopefully
fact,
we're able to cap it off at some point before close of business today. All right, but we see all of that happen, and then the next thing, the president calls for a meeting, and the president just does not call for meetings. It's got to be important enough. It's got to deserve his time. Again, like you hinted at a while ago, is it possible you're calling this meeting to do damage control in front of the Americans, so to say, or are you doing it altruistically? To say, look, enough is enough. This is one madness too many. We've got to end it now or never. Okay, maybe my hunch, again, is playing a fast one on me. It's becoming a bit kind of disturbing to see that the president is stuck in between. Should I double down on winning the war against insecurity of any kind in my country, or should I continue to focus on politics?
2027 elections.
Right, because it's becoming a case of one or the other. And as it stands right now, sad to say, but the president cannot have it both ways.
At all.
One has to be a front burner issue. But I don't know, I can't enter the president's mind. But like you mentioned, let's see what comes out of this meeting today, because it's a matter of life and death now.
Yeah.
Unless we want to keep living in denial. When we return from this break, so much of policy to talk about. In fact, the ADC has its, yes, the ADC, of course, has its national convention coming up today. We'll talk about the drama around it and how broken what is supposed to now be the leading opposition party has become the last couple of weeks. Wake up with Global Morning, your daily guide to what's happening and making the rounds.
We delve into headlines, newspaper reviews, spot-on analysis, policies, current events, real talk, real issues that affect us all.
From the latest trends to the debates, every topic, every angle, Global Morning is where it all starts.
Global Morning,
For the latest issues,
always on point.
watch Global Morning Monday to Friday at 7 a.m., Saturday and Sunday at 8 a.m. on Global Television.
All right, today is a bit a pivotal one for politicians across board, really, and of course, drama also expected in the middle of it all. Incidentally, the ADC has said, look, we've done everything we know how to do best to ensure that we mind our business and see how we can put our house in order, as we've been advised to do, to ensure that we also participate as a political party in 2027, I mean, the general election. But then we've had our own challenges. We've had litigation and what have you. However, all factors considered, even in the midst of being derecognized by the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, we're going forward with our convention as planned. Yesterday was a big talk, basically about, well, not the big talk program, about the venue for this convention. The ADC now claims that it had officially written to the Minister of the FCT to say, look, we would love to use the Eagle Square. And then later they also said they explored the possibility of using one of the facilities within the MKO Abiola Stadium here in Abuja, including the velodrome, which incidentally the PDP, yes, had used for its own national convention just about 2 weeks ago. But that, they say, hits a brick wall. On the flip side, the Minister of the FCT responded very pointedly yesterday to say, look, he hadn't even received any sort of application or request. As a matter of fact, he denied knowing what political party in particular was being talked about. Well, the ADC has now chosen a venue somewhere in Area 8 here in Abuja to use. They put out the word there on the internet and everywhere else. Bolaji Abdullahi, the spokesperson of the party, at least the David Mark-led wing of it, has also been very vocal in this regard, was seeing Kola Ologbodinyo, who again happens to be the media advisor to David Mark, the chairman of this, the ADC, has also spoken to some of these issues. But the question is, in the next couple of hours, what will become of the African Democratic Congress on account of this national convention?
Well, it is so sad. It is weakening. I don't know the words to use, but
you're sounding like you are a cast-carrying member of the ADC.
Not exactly. I mean, injustice.
You sympathize with the opposition, right?
It's injustice.
Do you sympathize with the opposition?
Of course, it's clear. It's glaring that someone is up to something.
So you're taking the Minister of the FCT's remark with a pinch of salt? Or you're not touching the salt at all?
Yes, well, I saw that on the internet yesterday. As a matter of fact, I also saw the letter that was written to him. I think it was, made. Did
you see the acknowledgement copy of the letter? Because the ADC says it was formally acknowledged.
Yes, I think I did. I saw that. I saw a letter with, some kind of stamp or so. I'm not quite sure, but I saw a letter. Yeah, and it was a letter that was presented by an ADC person. So I don't know why they would want to come and lie about. So I mean, what's so difficult to go? They all know the process. These are politicians that have served in various capacities in this country, so they know the process. I don't know why they would come and lie about a thing like this. On the other hand, Nyesom Wike denying that. In short, I think it's a bit malicious because for you to even come out to say deny the party in question, do you understand? It's glaring. It's obvious that you're up to something.
But he says even the FCT needs the money that comes from using these facilities, especially the Eagle Square, for example. So why would the authorities be avoiding or refusing to grant this application?
Why would he give a hint, to the fact that, or saying he doesn't even know the party?
He was speaking officially, not as a politician. Right?
I mean, even if you ask a 2-year-old now in Nigeria, they know what is going on somehow.
So you think they can see through the intentions and the hearts of Nyesom Wike?
Of course. So if he had come out to say, "Oh, the ADC had not written to me," or I didn't see their letter.
Right.
I didn't see the letter of ADC because ADC has come out to say you did not acknowledge the letter, and then you're coming out to say, "I don't even know the party you're talking about." Does it make any sense? Is it not clear that you're being malicious in some way? Because how would you defend? Do you understand? I don't really know.
I'm following.
So how? Okay, you're following. I don't understand. Anyways, I don't like to get myself so locked up in this political drama and brouhaha.
Right.
Because at the end of the day, I just believe that somehow, the majority of them are still birds of the same feather. Even if you can pick a few.
Across the parties.
Across the parties. The majority of them are birds of the same feather. Well, I saw Peter Obi, having a TV interview. And part of the things that people have been calling him out for is the fact that he has been moving from party to party. And
he has given an explanation.
And I'm wondering, when did it become a crime? Why are we picking? Is it a crime to decide? Don't we have the right to association?
Yes, freedom of association.
Exactly. So why are we just trying to make a mountain out of a molehill? Like, why? When did it become a crime to move from party to party? Why are we trying to paint the man back You have not come out to say he stole money. You have not come out to say he did not do well when he was. The only thing you can pick, is just looking for every opportunity to dent his
I guess they are saying to him, get a grip.
Well, I understand that, but we also understand how Nigerian politics work. And considering the fact that Peter Obi has not, he has been a governor in Anambra State, but he has not really, I don't really think he has, we can give it to him that, he has been, I can't really call him one of Nigeria's top politicians. Really.
Why is that?
Because he has not really occupied major, even if
at the national level, aside being the governor of Anambra State,
right? So there's every possibility that he's been bullied. There's every possibility that there are people bigger than him that are trying to frustrate his efforts. He will still have people that he's trying to battle with, right? He made mention of the fact that, and I've said it time and again, I've tried to explain how, from my own understanding, from my perspective, how he had been in the Labour Party, and somehow people came up with the narrative, I cannot control the party and all. We know the stage, we know what is playing out. What do you expect him to do? You're in a place where they have sent sabotages, right? And given his kind of personality, I mean, you can call him a gentleman for all you care. You want to call him whatever name you want to call him. But the fact still remains that he has not done anything wrong. He has not, soiled his hands to, just like the major.
At least nobody has presented such evidence or petitioned him.
Exactly. At different points where they have tried to petition him, he has
fell
come
through
out.
The crack.
He has come out to give you clear evidences that what you're saying is not true. So why are we trying to dent his image? He doesn't have to appear as the Jagaban. Because the politics in Nigeria right now is seeming, or is looking like some sort of personality competition. One person is coming out to say Jagaban is the Jagaban of Africa. He's the only Jagaban in the whole. What has Jagaban done? We want to hear what this person, how he has impacted the life. That should be what should, he should be hailed for.
Measurable impact.
Exactly. He's the measurable impact. But instead, we are hearing people come out to say he is the only person that knows Nigerian politics. He is the only person. Do you understand? We're not talking about the impact he has made in society. We're talking about the fact that our economy has been able to scale out. We're not using those indices to measure progress and success. Instead, we are crediting a political intelligence, which is not bad, right? But I don't think it should be the holistic conversation. So let us come off personality competition, right? Let's look at democracy. Let's look at growth. Let's look at economic growth and transformation. Let's look at how we can stop insecurity. These are the real problems, not somebody that knows some political, or that knows how to play chess or political. Do you understand?
Talking about insecurity and fighting it. Obi has even said that if, again, we say that with a big if, he becomes president, his first port of call will be dealing with insecurity as it stands today. And we've seen him talk about that time and again. But as it stands right now, I think the man is more focused on finding a viable platform to even pursue his ambition. Of
course. They are clearly frustrating him. It's obvious. I don't know why. But if you guys say you are doing all the work you are doing, you don't have to be scared. Why are you running helter-skelter? Like, why are you guys?
So you're saying create a level playing field?
Exactly. Create a level playing field. Let everybody come out and prove themselves. Let Nigerians test it. Let Nigerians prove to you that this is the person we like. And let them say to you that let the ballots speak that you are indeed the Jagaban, or you are whoever you say you are, or you are the OB, you are the people, you are the most loved.
You're the grassroots man.
You're the grassroots man. Let the ballot prove that. You don't have to, bully some party or sabotage some party. As a matter of fact, I think this will really open the eyes of a lot of Nigerians to Nigerian politics. Right now, people are already calling for the head of Professor Josh Amopita and digging up old tweets and all sorts. And then we see INEC saying, okay, we're going to probe INEC. INEC is trying to probe. INEC is trying to probe.
That's laughable, right?
It is. It's laughable for INEC to probe INEC.
All right, and we know what they say about the house divided against itself, right? But 2027 is inching closer, no doubt about that. We'll look at some of those developments for you as well in the course of the program this morning. Let's take a quick break now. We can continue to hold Ramsey Enoch Agbo down, who is ready to bring you Heart to Heart Inspirational.
Hello and welcome to another moment of Heart to Heart Inspirational. Let's talk heart to heart a little bit, because a lot of people have not been able to bounce back after the last time they failed. My name is Ramsey Enoch Agbo. Welcome to Heart Inspirationals. Failure is a feedback and not a funeral. I want to say that again, because of people who failed. Some people fell and they remain on the ground. They never got up again because of what they feel people around them are going to say. But then failure is a feedback. And that's why some people will tell you all the time that whatever happens, all right, there is a lecture from every lesson. Whatever happens to you in life, there is something that you are meant to learn from it, either positively or negative thing that you need to take cognizance of and be watchful as you move on the journey of life. So I just want to tell you today that failure is a feedback and not a funeral. What kind of feedback did you get from that last failure? Have you even tried anything at all? Have you experienced failure before? If you've not experienced failure before, it means you need to try harder, because on this journey of destiny, people who are successful today are people who have failed a number of times and they got up on their feet, learned from their mistake, and their mistake became a stepping stone for them. And of course, they are where they are today. Why? Because they never allow that failure to become a funeral to their dream. What am I emphasizing? As a matter of fact, let's normalize something today, all right? Let's normalize something today. A failure, you've heard about it all the time. Okay, this person is a failure, that person is a failure. People assess their counterparts, their neighbors, their brothers, their colleagues differently with different perspectives. Some persons already have been tagged as failure, and that has been affecting a lot of people. But then, have you accepted that you are a failure? That somebody told you you are a failure does not make you a failure until you accept that you are a failure. All right, not because it feels good, yeah, but because it is necessary. Sometimes, it's risk. It's risk. If you have taken a risk before, and of course, it didn't go well the way you think it was going to go, and you failed, it doesn't mean that is a funeral. It doesn't mean you shouldn't try it again. I was speaking with someone a few days ago, yeah, and we're talking about a particular business, and the young man told me, now I am successful. But then, during my wilderness experience, when I was in the workshop, nobody knew anything about me. When I was failing over and over and over again, I lost money several times. I had to stay indoors and think of the next thing to do. He failed severally until he said, no, I am not going to allow this failure become a funeral. My dream is not going to be cut short by this failure. And he stood on his ground. Consistency. I must always emphasize consistency anytime I come up to speak to anyone on Heart to Heart, because it is very important. If you want to succeed in life, then consistency and discipline is very important. But the bottom line is this: nobody ever succeeds without first stumbling. Yes. You stumble, then you stand again. Even every little child, before a child starts walking, you stand them up, you see them, they walk a little bit, they fall. They walk a little bit, they fall until their leg gets stabled on the ground. All right? And you see them walking firmly. Then before you know it, they start running. The same thing is applicable to life. So failure, as a matter of fact, is not proof that you can't. All right, it's not a proof that you can't do it. It's proof that you tried. It's a proof that you tried. When you fail, it means you tried and you failed. It doesn't mean that's the end. It reveals what doesn't work and refine what eventually would work later. That's what failure does. Anytime you fail, you know that, yes, this one does not work. Let me try the other one. It gives you a focus. It makes you know that, yes, if I go this way, I'm going to fail again, so I need to do something else. It's only a fool that do the same thing the same way and expect a different result. If you are doing one thing the same way all the time, you get the same result. You need to apply technicality, strategy, discipline, excellence every time. Whatever you do, let that touch of excellence be in your head, all right? So that when you fail in one thing, you try doing it the other way. But then don't allow that first, second, third, fourth failure be your funeral. Let your dream and your vision and your talent not be buried because you failed. Because that failure is trying to refine you, is trying to build something in you. What do you have to do? I want you to know that failure, what it does is that it reveals what doesn't work and refines what eventually will work. But you need to have this mentality. Every setback is information. If you are willing to learn, yes, that's what it means. Every setback that you've had in the past is an information. Because there is something you need to learn from every setback, from every failure. Everyone throwing stones at you right now is because they know you are going somewhere. Let me tell you the truth. We have a lot of friendly enemies these days. Some people are smiling with you, but then they are not interested in your success. What they say behind you, if you hear it, hey, but then that shouldn't deter you. That shouldn't deter you because you have a destination. So every setback is information if you are willing to learn, because most people don't fail because they are incapable. That you failed, it's not because you are incapable, but because you are going somewhere, because you are dogged, because you are rugged, because you are determined, because you are focused, because you have a dream, you have a vision, something you are pursuing and something you want to get. You have a target. So when people like that fail, they fail because they don't stop. But if you stop anytime soon, it means that failure has gotten to you. Let me give you an illustration, for instance. A GPS recalculates when you miss a turn. It doesn't shut down, all right? Failure, in other words, simply means it's time to adjust. Anytime you fail, the message is, no, I need to adjust. This principle, this procedure, this formula is not working. I need to adjust. There is something I need to do so that I don't fail again. That's what it means. Anytime you fail, there is a message. It is telling you it is time to adjust the procedure. It is time to re-strategize. That's what it means. All right, so you don't need to abandon your journey because you failed. There is a practical mindset shift that you need to have, and this is it. Number one, stop attaching shame to failure. Yes, stop attaching shame to failure. Some people, when they feel shy. Oh no, I'm not going to get on that stage again. They will laugh at me. No, I'm not going to do that business again. People will laugh at me. People will mock me. The same people will celebrate and want to identify with you if you are a success. So there should be a mindset and a mind shift for you. Extra lessons instead of self-criticism. Stop criticizing yourself because you failed. Stop criticizing yourself. Stop comparing yourself to other people with other people because you failed. That you failed. Failure is not a funeral. Stop burying yourself in shame and criticism. Try again. Make it better. Make it wiser. Make it stronger. That's what it means. All right? Failure is tuition paid for future success. That is a quote that I'm bringing to you now. Failure, I said, is what? Is tuition paid for future success. But if you don't pay, if you go to school now, all right, 100 level, you need to pay a tuition in 100 level. You get to 200, you pay another tuition before you can get to 300 level. In every of this level, there are tuitions to pay. If you want to change levels in life, don't be scared of failure. If you are scared of failure, you will never try anything good. So what do you have to do? Keep pushing. Don't bury your dream because of one mistake that you made. I'll keep saying this. Learn, rise, and move forward. Don't worry about what people are saying. Don't worry about the situation around you. Don't think oh, I have failed, I don't need to try it again. Keep trying. Change the strategy. Become wiser. Failure make you wiser. Because you walk through this way and you fail, you apply this strategy, this technique, this principle, this formula, and you failed. You will now need to re-strategize, use another formula, all right, until you get to your success, until you get to what you want to achieve in life, all right? So you need to know that anytime you fail, it's a signal that you need to turn. You need to do something again. You need to re-strategize. You need to improvise, come up with something new. As a matter of fact, failure is not the best option for you. So what do you have to do? Try as much as possible, right, to be sincere in everything that you do. Because if you want to please people, it will be disastrous. You don't need to please anyone, all right? You don't need to please anyone. It is when you're thinking about pleasing people that when you stumble, you say, oh, I've disappointed this person. I've disappointed even people who really love you, who want you to be successful. By the time you fail, instead of them condemning you, they will come and encourage you to do better. And that's the reason you need mentors. That's the reason you need people to talk to per time. All right? You need to talk to people. See, if you are embarking on a project, I emphasize mentorship all the time. I was speaking with a friend a few days ago, and I told the person, if I want to do this thing you're doing now, it is going to be express for me. It's going to be easier. I may have hitches. There might be some times where you have losses or maybe failure at some point, but then you have people to ask questions. I have someone to ask questions. Hey, I got hooked here. What do I do? Even the disaster is not going to be as disastrous as it would have been if you never have anyone to guide you on this journey of destiny. You really need people, okay? Because as your association determine your acceleration in life, okay? And your friends, you need to be careful with the kind of friends you have. If you have a bad friend, it is disaster. If you have a good friend, it means you have a shoulder to lean on, a shoulder to stand on and be tall so that you can get to that success that you are running after, that you are pursuing. Yes, congratulations, everyone. You are a success going somewhere to happen. Don't allow anything stop you on the way. Not failure, not criticism. Don't bury yourself because you failed. Failure is not funeral. Bye-bye for now and have a beautiful day.
All right, thank you very much for still being here with us. It's that segment where we keep you abreast with the happenings on the national days. And we're starting with the Vanguard newspaper. First story above the nameplate: terrorists kill Colonel, 6 soldiers during raid on military base in Borno. I've been seeing this since yesterday, and it's quite sad. At this point, I don't know if you are a Nigerian soldier. I don't know. I just feel like, let me not say too much though. Next story, Agri Minister headlines Vanguard economic discourse. Details on page 19. The Star story has Middle East war as its kicker. How federal government is responding to economic shock, and that's coming from Edu. Two writers to that. First one says, policy missteps in trade system may hurt consumers, and that's coming from expert. The next one says, Naira stability comes at heavy cost as FX reserve decline. Those details you will find on page 5 of the Vanguard newspaper. And the next point of call is the Punch newspaper.
All right, thank you, Priscilla. Let's take a look at that for you now. On the Punch, well, again, not so much of headlines for you here, as they say, not so much to see here. But let's make do with the few that we do have. It says, adjacent to the name mast, 2027, Abiodu Oshoba, Daniel Amosun endorse Yayi Ogun APC governorship candidate. We understand that Iyabo Obasanjo, who had also wanted to stand for governor of Ogun State, has now congratulated Mr. Yayi. But all of these gentlemen who have now endorsed Yayi, most of them, former governors of the states, apart from Dapo Abiodun, who is the incumbent governor of Ogun. That sounds like a very, very pivotal endorsement there. Tinubu moves against terrorists after fresh military casualties. Rider says, Commander 6 soldiers killed, President meets French General Service Chiefs. Quite a number of meetings. The President has a busy week, no doubt about that. But then, those are all the headlines. You know, this is what I was telling you a while ago about how that the President just does not call for a meeting. It has to be important as this one right now. But you also mentioned, quite frankly, that we should wait and see where all of this is heading.
Yeah, because we've been seeing the news, how soldiers, prominent soldiers, we're not talking about Nigerians that cannot defend themselves against
brigadier generals.
We're talking about brigadier generals losing their lives. What does that say? What does that say? I don't know. It just appears as though we are clueless at this point. And I'll keep saying, if we need help, let us see.
We should ask for it.
Yes.
The next part of call is the Nigerian Tribune, everyone.
Okay, the Nigerian Tribune has its first story above the nameplates, top left corner. ADC dares INEC, holds convention today. Supreme Court bears Mark's appeal, no request to use Eagle Square, and that's coming from Wiki. I don't know if this is a smart move, honestly. I don't know. But
you think it's counterintuitive?
Honestly, I've kept my opinion, and it is the fact that I think they should hold on until everything is resolved. It might be counterproductive at the end of the day.
And it gives the impression that they are being desperate.
Exactly. So, well, it's Nigerian politics at the end of the day.
Right.
Next story, suspected herders kill 47-year-old farmer in Ibadan community. Olubadan, please meet over incidents. Details on page 3. Finally, we have Ogun APC adopts Yayi as governor candidate. Details on page 3. Those are your headlines for the Nigerian Tribune. The next point of call is the New Telegraph.
Oh, thank you, Priscilla. Let's take it to the top of it. It says post-recapitalization, 7 Tier 1 banks deliver 1.9 trillion naira returns to shareholders. And then we have one, again, immediately beneath that, saying IMF World Bank meetings, Edun to drum support for Nigeria's reforms. And then top left corner with a picture of Vice President says Shetima demands new framework for youth leadership development, says demographic strength must be matched by strategic national planning. Apparently emphasis on strategic national planning. Economic crisis, stop looking for scapegoats, take responsibility, Obi tells Tinubu. NNPP faction insists on recognition, rise INEC, which of the factions now, that party appears to be having its own crisis on account of the departure, so to speak, of its leader, talking about Rabi Musa Kwankwaso. ICPC court adjourns El-Rufai's bail hearing till today, so the former Kaduna State Governor is back to court this morning, even though we know he has asked Justice Aikawa to recuse himself, and he cited grounds on which he's making that requisition. The big one says insecurity. Terrorists kill Colonel, 6 soldiers during raid on military base in Borno. Now you're beginning to have an insight why the president had to call for those meetings. All right, but then we have 4 riders, maybe 3 right there regarding the same headline. The first one says, Mopo, 13 others killed in Benue attacks. Tinubu meets service chiefs as reps hold security summit in a Plateau today, right? And then one here also tells us Senator Lawan calls for independent, transparent probe of Yobe tragedy. Incidentally, that happens to be the hometown of the former president of the Senate. Securities and Exchange Commission freezes accounts linked to terror financing allegations. I can assure you this is quite an extensive read with details awaiting you on pages 2, 3, 6, 25, 29, and 30. Let's take it further down a little, everyone. Bottom left. I didn't deny ADC use of Eagle Square, says Wike, as ADC reps demand Amukwiton's sack, prosecution, say democracy in danger. Over 2,500 delegates arrive Abuja for convention. Pages 2, 3, and 6 have your details on this story. A Middle East crisis, Strait of Hormuz blockades against global interest. That's China speaking. Urges restraints. I'm not a politician. I have no fear of Trump administration. That's credited to Pope Leo XIV. All right. U.S. judge dismisses $10 billion Trump defamation suit against Wall Street Journal, WSJ. And lastly, my favorite piece of the New Telegraph. On the foot of it says, taking too much vitamin D can backfire. Scientists say, but in what way will it backfire? That's the reason you need to go look up details on page 30. That's a wrap here on the New Telegraph. Let's go take a look at our next paper for you, and that happens to be the Nation newspaper.
Okay, on the Nation newspaper, we have first story, top left corner above the nameplate. Presidency, Yobe government, airstrikes on Gili market deliberate. Okay, I wonder the angle. Of course, for the presidency to say this, it means they're trying to avert, some form of insecurity. Well, you find that detail on page 2. ADC Wike bicker over Eagle Square. Faction suspends Atiku. I think I saw this trending yesterday. So I'm wondering why Atiku, which of the faction? Is it the David Mark faction?
Well, it's not the David Mark faction. The party is, I wouldn't know if the word is depleted or, if you like, cannibalized. But it's not a one-house party right now, as it were.
So why are you suspending Atiku when you're not even recognizing him in the first place?
Well, it's pretty much, if you ask me, a situation where it's either we get it our way or we tear down the whole thing. Because the way it works, incidentally, the report I read last night says is the chairman of the party of the ADC in Adamawa State, which incidentally is the home state of the former Vice President Atiku, that suspended him. Okay. But my understanding is it is the word and not the local government, not the state chairman that should suspend you. And that's the reason if Priscilla Obasi wants to join a political party, we say, go to your word and register. Yeah. So if we're also going to suspend you, we go to your word.
Yes.
But we have seen cases where the state chairman suspends, or seen cases where sometimes it says the National Executive Committee that suspended, and then sometimes the political parties come and say, well, Constitution supports that sort of action, whatever it is. But again, politicians have not gotten it right within their own fold.
Exactly.
And the earlier they realize that's the reason, or one of the major reasons they are having a problem playing big in the mainstream, the better for them. You can't give what you don't have.
Exactly.
You can't destroy your internal mechanism for selfish reason or on the basis of selfish ambition. Then you say you want to be governor, you want to produce president.
Yeah.
I mean, this goes for all the parties, including the APC.
But on the other hand, I'm wondering if it is not the David Mark
Led faction.
why are you suspending?
Are you aware, Priscilla, for example, that the state chairman of the ADC, they have their own front?
Okay.
Right. I mean, one of the state chairmen was here on Big Talk last week. In fact, it was, the gentleman is the state chairman of Benue. Benue state chairman of the ADC was here.
From the other faction?
Yes.
Because right now it's about...
Because the state chairmen are not on the same page as the David Mark faction.
Okay.
Instead, they are aligned with, well, the man told me that it is Dumebi Kachiku, their presidential candidate in 2023, who is aligned with them. So, Mr. Kachiku and the state chairman have the same front, essentially, while you have the David Mark-led faction of the party.
It's quite confusing, though.
I think when these politicians in the ADC, all of them, from top to bottom, go to bed at night, they tell themselves the truth. They know there's so much of confusion in the party.
There is so much confusion indeed. Well, let's just watch ahead. Next story. Commanding officer, 6 soldiers killed in IED explosion. Details on page 6. Are we talking about the explosion that happened in... okay, I think this is a different...
Yes, this is even more recent than the one we had been talking about, where a certain...
So more like a retaliation.
A reprisal, if you like. A shame again, right?
A shame. Details on page 2. Federal government, new tariff measure to shield economy from shocks. Okay, details on page 31. And finally, we have Yayi Hamzat get APC nod. Details on page.
Hamzat being the current deputy governor of Lagos State. We hear that unless something changes at some point, he's going to be the governorship candidate of the APC in Lagos State come 2027.
Well, and then we see them getting an APC nod. What is that implying?
Endorsed all the way.
Oh, interesting. Okay, so let's look up for all of these details on the Nation newspaper. Those are your headlines. Next point of call is the Guardian newspaper.
All right, Priscilla, thank you. We'll take a look at the Guardian newspaper for you now. Here it says again, I think we have a couple of them here on the Guardian. It says top right corner first. 12 years after, then what happened? Chibok parents demand global action as 87 girls remain missing. That's a whole lot of girls yet unaccounted for. On page 3 is where you have those details. Next to that, it says Nigeria misses $3.3 billion oil windfall as $25 billion Nigeria-Morocco pipeline progresses. Again, that's on page 3. ADC reps caucus Adebayo Shea would demand Moputon's ouster prosecution on page 3. So if page 3 of the Guardian is all you get to look at today, it will be very appreciable. Anxiety over opposition's future as ADC PDP awaits Supreme Court's ruling. I'm sure these gentlemen and the women amongst them are sitting on the edge of their chairs now. And then finally, and this happens to be the big one on the front page of the Guardian today, the kicker says insecurity, federal government under pressure over fresh attacks on troops, airstrike fallout. Read those disturbing details on page 6 of the Guardian. Those are your headlines from the Guardian newspaper today. As we go take a look at our last paper, and that happens to be the First Daily newspaper.
Okay, the First Daily has the first story besides the nameplate. ICPC files fresh charges against Nasir El-Rufai. The way these politicians are strategic with fighting opposition, I just wonder why they are not strategic with insecurity.
There's some politicians that are, engaging him, so to speak.
It's strategic. First of all, you go for El-Rufai, then next you go for ADC.
So you don't think these are just mere coincidences?
No. It's obviously not a mere coincidence. It's opposition that is being fought, right? So how many of the ruling party members, have you seen facing such kind of charges? Are we saying they are all saints? Are we saying their records are
It's
clean?
not possible their day has not come. You know, they say every dog has its day.
At least we want to see their day come during their,
While they're in government.
when they're in government. But we don't see that. We cannot see a subtle threat, and then when you go back to realign behind the scene, then everything's okay.
Your sins are forgiven?
Like what we saw with Yahaya Bello. Have you seen such brutal persecution with Yahaya Bello? Even if at some point the EFCC came out, they were looking for him. Later they now said they found him.
And the man presented himself. Voluntarily went to the office.
He went to the office.
And the EFCC says, no, we are not going to attend to you. We want to be the one to find you.
We want to find you.
It can never be more dramatic.
And then we see everything just die down silently, right? But now opposition is, being tried there. I'm not saying people should not pay for their sins. What I'm saying is, I like the strategy. Personally, I just want to see it being replicated in other,
Let it be across board.
Exactly.
With evidence.
With evidence. As we are seeing all this strategy, let's see our insecurity drama,
Right.
being tackled this way. I think they have what it takes, really. I don't feel like they are clueless. Maybe they are just handicapped, basically because they don't want to implicate some people.
All right.
Right? There are people that are very important, especially as 2027 is by the corner. So we are treading carefully so that you don't step on toes, so it doesn't affect you. But I, for one, do not think they're clueless. It might be intentional. Let's go to the next story. PDP crisis the pins as Wike backed. NWC renovates secretariat. Okay, there's crisis everywhere. I hope the INEC also steps in.
In the case of the PDP.
The PDP and the Labour Party.
INEC has stepped in already because now we understand it is the current PDP as led by national leader Wike that INEC recognizes. Besides, INEC was there about a fortnight ago when they had their national convention. Is there a better way to recognize?
In the case of ADC now, none of the factions.
INEC says we are in compliance with a valid court order that says we should revert to status quo ante bellum. So the issue is not even whether you are complying with the court order or not. That's already a given. It is now about the issue of what is INEC's definition or interpretation of status quo ante bellum. That's where we are now. Maybe we're speaking too much of Latin, but interpretation is the real challenge.
I think we need to go to the courts to help us make it clear. I don't know, because right now it appears that the courts have the center stage
right now
between ADC and INEC. Anyways, it is an interesting time ahead. Bola Tinubu holds emergency security meeting with service chiefs. And the Star Story has ADC lawmakers demand sack prosecution of INEC chairman over alleged bias as Serap demands probe of chairs, alleged partisan and posts. By the way, VDM is telling us today that he's going to start an unraveling of a mystery, the mystery behind Showore.
Yes, both of them have been at each other's throats, right?
Yes, so as I am seeing this, I don't know. It looks like we need to get our popcorns ready. Nigeria speech.
Drama never ends.
Someone said Nigeria needs to be on Netflix because we have movies.
Hopefully we cut a deal with them.
ADC faction suspends Atiku Babachir Lawal in Adamawa. Seyi Makinde Olubadan of Ibadan debunks Fayose dethronement claims. Troops repel Monguno attack as IED kills officer 6 soldiers. UTME 2026 JAMB adjusts arrival time for candidates. NDLEA seizes 724.5 million naira cannabis, arrests 5 in Edo, that is your state.
Yeah, you have to say that. It is my state, proud so.
Those are your headlines for the first daily.
All right. What can we say? Thank you for watching this segment of the program, everyone. And would like to, as always, remind you that Global Television, as a broadcast media entity, or the team here on Global One, does not in any way contribute to these headlines or their details. All we do for you 7 days a week is present to you the headlines, just the headlines. as published by their respective publishers. We're taking a break. When we return, Ogochukwu Mobudo will be here with Social Bars. Wake up with Global Morning, your daily guide to what's happening and making the rounds.
We delve into headlines, newspaper reviews, spot-on analysis, policies, current events, real talk, real issues that affect us all.
From the latest trends to the debate, every topic, every angle, Global Morning is where it all starts.
Global Morning,
For the latest issues,
always on point.
watch Global Morning Monday to Friday at 7 a.m., Saturday and Sunday at 8 a.m. on Global Television.
In an age of breaking news, you need a trusted source that prioritizes accurate, factual, and unbiased reporting. This is AM News, and I am Ubong Usoro.
On Global Television, our news is rooted in verified and authoritative storytelling that keeps you educated, informed, and enlightened on all the issues that matter to you. I am Sadia Yakubu. This is Midday News.
You can trust a multi-platform news broadcast, real-time and fast-check stories for all the big local and foreign headlines round the clock. I am Ramsey Enoch Agbo. This is News Express.
Our array of anchors delivers the news to our teeming viewers, breaking it down with context and perspective. This is News Cycle on Global Television. I am Anieti Patrick.
And the flagship news is your hub for the day's most engaging stories. This is News Prime, and I am Jumai Manson.
Did you miss any of our news rounds? No worries. Catch up at 10 p.m. and midnight, 7 days of the week. I am Mukhtar Kasim.
Global TV is on DSTV channel 365 and Star Times channel 276. We're active across all social media platforms at Global TV NG.
Global TV News, accurate and unbiased. I'm Uyi Agmofwebe.
When social media speaks, we listen and we bring you the extra. It's your one-stop shop for trends, tweets, and the tea everyone's sipping on. Join the conversation, share your thoughts, and get that extra dose of what's shaking the internet.
And the issues making wave on social media to your doorstep.
Social Boss Extra, where the trend meets the talk, only on Global TV.
Good morning, Nigerians and viewers around the world. It's time to look at buzzing issues making wave on social media. And today we're looking at tension rising among retired police officers in Nigeria as frustrations over delayed pension payments spilled into a heated confrontation at the force headquarters. The aggrieved retirees who gathered in protest voiced strong opposition to what they described as intimidation by a senior police officer. In a viral moment during the demonstration, one of the retirees fired back saying, "We are fighting for our rights and you say you will deal with people. You cannot intimidate us." The protest highlights growing anger among former officers who say they have been neglected after years of service to the nation. Many insist that the delay in pension payments has left them struggling to survive. Despite attempts to disperse the crowd, the retirees stood their ground, demanding immediate action and accountability from the authorities. Let's take a look at that very shortly.
They don't come out. Why would I listen to her? They don't come out. Okay, you know they pension. They don't come out of pension. They don't come out. They don't come out. They don't come out. They don't come out. Why? Ask me. They don't come out of the factor. They don't come out of the factor. You know they pension. We are here to hear. We are here to learn of you. We are here to learn of you. Sir, you can't deal with anybody. You cannot. We can't say you deal with people. We are fighting our lives. You say you deal with people. What's the meaning of that? You is part of the problem. We have been told. You cannot intimidate us. You cannot beat up many places. You cannot intimidate us. How can you say you deal with people? Hey! You talking like that? So that we can give you medal. So we cannot fight for our rights? We are fighting for our rights. You cannot say that man cannot talk the way we talk to them. Go and talk to him. And we are careful of them. But you're saying that you deal with us? Call that man singularly and appeal to him. Do you hear me? You are not my team, and that's why you are hearing me. So you cannot come and disturb the ground. To the hall. You leave them there, or I should leave them there. I'm going to leave them there. And when you get there, get water.
All right, that video clips are retired police officers fighting for their rights. Who would have thought that in Nigeria, present-day Nigerians, who are going to be seeing police officers or retired police officers fight for their rights? Let's take some comments from social media. And the first comment is coming from Sonny Vicky. And Sonny says, "My happiness is that those retired men were once in uniform, and those in uniform will soon retire with time. I just turn by turn, because injustice for one is injustice for all. In summary, if you can't speak up now that you are in uniform, one day you will face the same fate with those retired police too." All right, thank you, Sonny Vicky. And the next one is coming from Linda Maduka. And Maduka says, "I hope those putting on uniforms are looking at their uniform, at their future. That is how they will also be treated when they retire too." All right, the last but not the least today is coming from Today's Logistics. And says, "Just imagine even policeman in Nigeria is fighting for his rights." All right. I think I have a lot to say, but then it's not even coming out because I don't even have the right words to put it. So I'm going to be pushing everything to Uyi Amofweli. Good morning, Uyi.
Good morning, Ogo Chiku.
How are you doing today?
Very well. Did I tell you I had a chance to join the police many years ago? My other brother and I, yes.
Really?
By now, you probably would have had a little more respect for me.
Did you go to police academy?
I never came close. I have passed the night at the academy on 2 occasions in Lagos because I had a friend who worked, yes, as a guest. I was visiting at the time. That was sometime in 2013. But much earlier than that, as a young boy, I had an offer. That's the best word I can find now. My elder brother and I to join the police. But I don't want to be going to the rigors of why that plan never came through.
Okay. So today now we see police officers, retired police officers, demanding for their rights, something that is supposed to come to them at ease, not going outside to protest, not hearing solidarity forever and all of that. But right now we're seeing them protesting, and someone is telling, someone from the crowd who is obviously a police officer is telling them to keep quiet and stop doing that there because they feel like they are, constituting nuisance in the environment. This is not something we should be seeing in present day Nigeria. I feel embarrassed, honestly, seeing these policemen. We've seen how hardworking these men can be, or were during service, or are, presently. We've seen how much they work, some of them under the sun, under the rain. We see them. Sometimes we don't even appreciate these people as much as we should appreciate them. And this time around, we are seeing retired people who have worked in service, been in service for over 30, 35 years, and they are demanding for their rights, only for them to be sent away or to be addressed as though they were nobody or never serving the nation. What do you think about this kind of improvement? Not even an improvement, this kind of situation.
Well, look, you told us a while ago that you didn't have words to express yourself, but now you're talking plenty already. I probably should not say a word again after all you said, because
No. I'm just trying to express my grievances because I feel bad. If my dad was to be a policeman, and I'm sure he should have been retired by now, and maybe he would have been in this crowd, I wouldn't let anyone talk to him anyhow, knowing fully well that he served his country very well the way he should have served the country. So I wouldn't let anybody say, something like that. I know these people have children, they have wives, and they are probably watching them right now, seeing their parents, being insulted and talked down on like they never worked. It's really bad.
All right, I'd like to say this real quick, okay? Like many other aspects of our national life as a people, the police is also suffering systemic and institutional failure. That's what it is. I'll give you a real quick example. You're seeing a part of it in this clip we just played now. First, you have those who had retired and are protesting within their own rights. They say, give us what is duly ours. And this, again, for the benefit of our viewers, strikes at the very heart of contributory pension, which is their right. I mean, I've been in the private sector my entire work life so far. I have a contributory pension account, all right? I've not used it in a couple of years because I switched workplaces. Okay, but that account has been active. I've been monitoring it on my app. Till date, yes, it's been active. In fact, it's been growing. Don't ask me what the balances are. Yes, but the point is that is even from a private sector standpoint. I've not had any issues. The only time I just wanted to be double sure what the status was, I went to the Pension Administration's office here in Abuja. They told me, right there on the spot, and there was no drama, there was no glitch. But now these are people who have served their country. They must have done, give or take, 35 years in service. More than 3 decades overall of their lives. Invested in public service, in policing, let's be clear. A job that requires you to literally put your life on the line from day one when you sign up. Now they're having to fight, they're having to protest and demonstrate over what is supposed to be theirs by default, like you mentioned. Having said that, again, I go back to what I mentioned earlier, the police problem is systemic, it's institutional. And then I'll take you back to the same 2013, when Dr. Ebele Goodluck Jonathan was the president. There was an issue with the police academy in Lagos, but that was actually something that came to the limelight in 2012. A media house had done a documentary that highlighted, if you like, the rot in the academy at that time. How recruits were being treated and so on and so forth. And long and short story, the president, as it then was, Goodluck Jonathan, paid an unscheduled visit to the school, saw for himself, and he said, this place is like a poultry. That's what he said.
The police academy in Lagos?
Yes, that's what he said. I'm saying this on record. But then again, he bungled the opportunity to do right by the Nigerian people and indeed by the police community when he now started asking who authorized the documentary. That was begging the issue. The issue was, what are we dealing with? How much of rot do we have in front of us? what do we have to do to fix it? Of course, the answer is roll up your sleeves and get to work. But then the government again did something very impressive at that time. Awarded the renovation, or maybe we can call it an overhaul, of the infrastructure in that school in Ikeja at the heart of Lagos. Guess what? The project was awarded to the army.
Why?
So by 2013, the project had been said to have been finished. But then former Vice President Nnamdi Sambo came to, as it were, commission the project, and he was reluctant. I can't be sure now, maybe he did, maybe he didn't, but he was reluctant to commission because he said there were aspects of the project, including the restrooms, that didn't meet the specifications given to the contractor. So I tried to say this to establish the picture of how bad things have been over time. And somebody mentioned in one of your reactions from the social media that, look, for those of you today who are trying to put up a resistance against these gentlemen who are protesting, because you are in uniform, you are still in active service. You should already know that this is a mirror of your future in front of you. But do you blame them? The system is such that once you're in there, you're trapped. There are things you can't say. Have you not noticed that the police most times can be very reluctant in speaking to issues of public interest? Because it appears that there's going to be conflict of interest between things you can say, things you cannot say, things you should say, things you should not say. And that's why once you leave office as a commissioner, as a DIG, as an AIG, you start talking plenty. That's when you start talking about all of the issues. Go and speak to some of the former IGs and hear the things they'll say to you. You're now wondering, so were these things already happening while you were in service? The man no fit talk.
I think it's something that, you know, it's like a law or something that's guiding, like a constitution guiding them not to speak.
It's an unspoken rule.
Yes, because I've also seen civil servants too, you know, when you ask them questions, they know they are dealing with issues, but they can't talk about it. They'll tell you, no, I can't talk about it because I work for the government.
Right.
You know, I feel like that's part of the
code of conduct.
Code of conduct,
right.
Yes, in the in civil service. And I also feel that same thing rolls down to the police. But, you know, like you said earlier, we read a comment that, you know, emphasized on, you know, these other policemen seeing themselves, this is like a mirror of themselves, like in few years' time, they're going to retire and also go through this process. I don't blame them for that. When they, you know, hush people, when they pour tear gas and all of that, sometimes I don't blame them to an extent. But I feel somehow they should be able to talk. Say something. I don't know how you're going to say it, even if you don't put it out there as a press statement, you don't talk about it maybe on interviews, during interviews. You can actually put it out to your, you know, to your seniors. Tell them what you feel, because most times, I think policemen are not being taken care of. Like, the welfare when it comes to policemen is really, really poor. There was a time also that they showcased, I think, their barracks somewhere in Lagos too. It was looking like I don't know, where pigs stay, that's the way it was looking like. It was looking so dirty, all scattered. And I asked myself again, is this the police barracks? How do you want them to work with their heart? And that's the reason why sometimes we even see them asking for money on the road, they are extorting people and all of that, because they are not well taken care of. And it's showing even after retiring from the police. So if you don't take care of them right now, that means there's no guarantee that you're going to take care of them even after they retire, because that's what it is. I've seen many policemen complain after retirement that they went through hell, and some of them retired to nothing. There's nothing to show for it that they retired very well, or they retired as you know, policemen. We only see maybe their seniors, those people, those other bigger persons in office. We only see that these are the people who kind of enjoy their gratuity and pension, but the rest, there's nothing to talk about. And that's why most persons, when you tell them you have to be a policeman, or would you like to be a policeman, they tell you God forbid, because there's nothing to prove that I'm working for the government. It's not showing. I think the government should do more when it comes to the welfare of these policemen, because they do a lot, you know, to maintain peace and quietness in the nation, and the least the government can do is to take care of them, so that they can give in their best.
Well said.
Well, thank you so much once again, Uyag for your contribution. As tension continue to mount, all eyes are now on police leadership and the federal government to address the concerns of these former officers and prevent further escalation. I am August Kumobno, and this is the size of our conversation today on Global Morning Social Buzz, and I'll be leaving in the hands of Priscilla and Uye as they bring us into the discussion section of Global Morning. So stay with us. Good morning once again, Nigerians and viewers around the world. Bye for now.
When social media speaks, We listen and we bring you the extra. It's your one-stop shop for trends, tweets, and the tea everyone's sipping on. Join the conversation, share your thoughts, and get that extra dose of what's shaking the internet.
And the issues making wave on social media to your doorstep.
Social Buzz Extra, where the trend meets the talk, only on Global TV.
Hello and welcome. Temperatures are running quite high across the northern states, bringing some thermal discomfort. So we encourage everyone there to stay cool and hydrated as the heat continues. Heading to the central region, expect generally sunny skies over there with occasional patches of clouds. However, residents in parts of Plateau, Nasarawa, the Federal Capital Territory, some parts of Niger and Kwara should keep an eye out for possible thunderstorms, which may likely bring some rainfall. While parts of southern Kebbi, Kaduna, some parts of Adamawa might see some isolated cases of light to moderate showers. In the south, the weather is becoming more active. Heavier storms with gusty winds are expected across parts of Cross River, Akwa Ibom, some parts of Bayelsa, Delta, Rivers, extending inland to parts of Oyo, Ondo, some parts of Edo, Imo, and Ogun states. So wherever you are, stay weather aware and plan your day accordingly. Thank you for watching.
Wake up with Global Morning, your daily guide to what's happening and making the rounds.
We delve into headlines, newspaper reviews, spot-on analysis, policies, current events, real talk, real issues that affect us all.
From the latest trends to the debate, every topic, every angle, Global Morning is where it all starts.
Global Morning,
For the latest issues,
always on point.
watch Global Morning Monday to Friday at 7 a.m., Saturday and Sunday at 8 a.m. on Global Television.
In an age of breaking news, you need a trusted source that prioritizes accurate, factual, and unbiased reporting. This is AM News, and I am Ubong Usoro.
On Global Television, our news is rooted in verified and authoritative storytelling that keeps you educated, informed, and enlightened on all the issues that matter to you. I am Sadia Yakubu. This is Midday News.
You can trust our multi-platform news broadcast real-time and fast-check stories for all the big local and foreign headlines round the clock. I am Ramsey Enoch Agbo. This is News Express.
Our array of anchors delivers the news to our teeming viewers, breaking it down with context and perspective. This is News Cycle on Global Television. I am Anieti Patrick.
And the flagship news is your hub for the day's most engaging stories. This is News Prime, and I am Jumai Manson.
Did you miss any of our news rounds? No worries. Catch up at 10 p.m. and midnight, 7 days of the week. I am Mukhtar Kasim.
Global TV is on DSTV channel 365 and Star Times channel 276. We're active across all social media platforms at Global TV NG.
Global TV News, accurate and unbiased. I'm Uyi Agmofwebe. A time there was when concerns around insecurity were basically palpable and, as it were, very predominant in the northeast of Nigeria, particularly states like Adamawa, Borno, and Yobe. Of course, we've seen it spread all the way from that, if you like, a little corner of the country into the northwest, whether it's, if you like, Kaduna or Katsina, and more so Zamfara, which many security experts and intel specialists have now referred to as insecurity hotspots in the country. But when you move beyond Benue and Plateau and then you come to a place like Nasarawa State, which is more like a sibling state, so to speak, to the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja, you begin to realize that it's coming closer to home by the day. Just last week, for example, we saw what had happened in Nasarawa, how there had been an attack there and people were practically, in every sense of that word, running for their lives. We saw parents, we saw women trying to not only get a safety by themselves and for themselves, but also trying to provide same for their children. It was a gory sight. Videos went viral across social media about that situation. Today, that may not be the case in particular, but the disturbing pictures that we saw from that incident continue to play in our minds. This morning we're joined by someone who can say had a first-hand experience, or we can call him an eyewitness to that concerning event in Nasarawa State. Our own political correspondent Ubongo Soro is with us on the program this morning to help highlight what the implications are and what the authorities must do going forward in this regard. Ubongo, as always, it's good to see you.
Thank you so much. Pleasure to come on your program.
Right. You see, it's not every day you see a journalist come to talk about these issues. Often we want to bring experts in this field to come and help us understand the technicalities around it. But this is Nasarawa State we're talking about, and you have hundreds of thousands, maybe by some account, millions of people who reside in Nasarawa State but work in the FCT. Help our viewers understand what your own account is.
All right, so on Easter Friday, and we took a trip down south, and that trip we had to pass through Nasarawa to get to Benue, Enugu, Ebonyi, eventually Cross River and Akwa Ibom. Long stretch. That had to be. There are shorter routes, but because we had to make stops at maybe Ebonyi, Cross River, and Akwa Ibom at the end of the day. So getting to Nasarawa, as we got close to the border between Nasarawa and Benue, there are villages, some of the villages called like Kuvu, there's a villages called Kudu, there's a villages called Akpoi, and all of those villages is a long stretch of wonderful road. The road infrastructure in that area is quite amazing, good road infrastructure, but we noticed that at first we just noticed people moving. So my mind was like, is it like we have a market day? Because where I'm from, we have some special market days where other people from other local governments could even trek to the markets. It's a big deal. So I felt, okay, maybe there's a semblance of the same thing at home, but it wasn't. So as we kept moving, we now saw at the houses that are by the roadside, you could see men with machetes, with local made guns, with daggers, with all of those things sitting, forming. Maybe you not see them stand alone. You see maybe 6, 7, 10 persons
in small groups.
And we kept progressing, and we kept seeing people were moving, and we now noticed the pattern. They were moving with their belongings. They had a few things they could easily carry, maybe just a basket or something, just a few things.
Essentials.
Wrap their heads around. And we saw mothers with children running, women were crying, and it became serious that it's not people just moving. This is there's a crisis going on, and you could see them practically scrambling, coming out from the villages. The pictures that you are seeing now, the video you are seeing now is the video I took right inside the car. The people are coming out from the villages. The villages, all this long stretch of road are made up of various villages. So they are running out of the villages to the main road and trying to get to maybe Benue State. And this is a long stretch of road. This is more than 20 kilometers. You understand what that means? You can't even trek 20 kilometers in 1 hour, right? So, and you can imagine, how are they going to do this journey? That was just what kept coming to the mind. And we saw a woman crying. At a point, our driver had to stop, and we had to ask questions. What is happening? There were 2 accounts basically that they gave. Some said bandits came to attack, and they've killed. What I heard at the point was that they killed 9 persons in the community. The woman that was crying, but some other person said no, it wasn't bandits. It is a communal clash that the communities have been fighting. But so I wasn't able to really understand, is it banditry as the first person who gave us the account accounted for, or is it a communal clash? But the driver who basically knows that terrain said it is something that has been happening. There's been consistent attacks in the region. So in those particular villages and local government that I've mentioned in Nasarawa State. And for me, in looking at those children walking without shoes and mothers not knowing, basically not even carrying water, even when you carry money, what's the hope that you're going to get something? So it's sad that you have to run to survive in a country. And it forced my understanding of the state of insecurity. It broadened my horizon, because sometimes when you hear government say we are on top of it, they're on top of what? This is a country, these are Nigerians, and they are practically begging to stay alive, running. The government should provide safety for their citizens, to make sure their citizens are alive. Now it's the citizens running to make sure they stay alive. And the funny part of it was that in all of this long stretch, I didn't see any security presence. There wasn't a security presence. I said more than 15 kilometers of road, no security presence. But right when you get into the south, get into Benue, get into Enugu, Ebonyi, every 5 kilometers, there's a security checkpoint. Right. What is happening in the north? We have to ask ourselves those questions. Why is it that every 5 kilometers in Port Harcourt, we are coming from Ogoni Road into Port Harcourt town, for instance, there's a security checkpoint? Why is it that if you are going from Owele to Imo State, there's a security checkpoint? The same thing in Calabar Road. What is happening? Why don't we have the same security presence where it is even more needed? Because the security we have in the south, they basically they don't do anything. If you ask me, I don't see what they do. Maybe just look at point torchlight and maybe get something from the driver and you move, right? Why are we not having the gear? So it begs for answers.
I think before we get to that answer, Priscilla has a question. She's been listening with rapt attention the entire time.
Well, it just brought a lot of nostalgia to me. I don't know if I've shared it with you, but I think I've experienced this before while I was still growing up. Then in Kaduna.
Right, you mentioned.
Yeah, the crisis in Kaduna, where my family literally had to run for safety. We're at some refugee camp.
And you had to move for 1 year?
Yeah, we had to move from Kaduna, and then we stayed in we had to relocate back to the east for 1 year. But what happened was the crisis then, the Sharia crisis then in Kaduna. Then my dad's car was burned. Do you understand? It was a first-hand experience. We had to literally run right? So I can remember the childhood memories of being in a camp where people would have to give you food. You know, I think it was a 3-day or 2 days stay in that camp. We was a group of people that were affected, and we had to stay together. You know, look for basically running for survival. Of course, you know that you'll not eat the best of foods in that environment. You know that you'll not get the best of water in that environment. But that was the experience. And then looking at these people, I'm just wondering, where are they even going to? Do we even have that facility to even accommodate them? Because for my case, maybe we had a camp, right? But for them, it looked like as if everybody's just going there where nobody's even bringing. No, you will not get to see this on the news. Right. If we didn't have Anubong, capture this, nobody even knows. I practically don't know.
No network in the whole stretch. There's no network.
Exactly.
An entire blind spot.
So these are part of the problems. These are part of the insecurity that nobody even gets to see. What we are seeing on the internet, what we are seeing in media houses are what is reported. There are lots of underreported stories of insecurity. People that lose their life on a daily basis, and it is unaccounted for. At this point, I had to say recently, I had to share on my social media how Nigerians right now are not even looking for the best of roads. We don't even want you to fix the economy. Can we live?
Just stay alive.
Can we stay alive? Can we have that space that gives us security? We have gotten to that point where everybody has to literally go on their phones to search for or to equip themselves with all the knowledge on how to stay safe, how to stay alive, how to report these cases. Everybody needs to be educated because, these are people from the rural communities. Right. Maybe they don't have a hands-on on how to use technology. But if we can have NGOs that would equip them with the knowledge they need to report situations like this, because it has gotten to this, else it will keep going on the report and nobody talks about it. You would see the one that is made viral most times are the ones that come from maybe a subtle urban community, right? Those ones that have phones, that can post to the internet.
They have internet access.
Exactly. Those are the ones we get to see. These ones and many more, they
go unreported. Interesting. Well, time will fail us to push this any further. It's already very depressing, but I would like to appreciate you for your time, Ubong.
Thank you so much.
And for the initiative to do this for us. We'll take a break now, everyone. When we return, we'll turn to politics for you and look at the political fates of the African Democratic Congress and the National Convention it has insisted will go on today.
Hello and welcome. Temperatures are running quite high across the northern states, bringing some thermal discomfort. So we encourage everyone there to stay cool and hydrated as the heat continues. Heading to the central region, expect generally sunny skies over there with occasional patches of clouds. However, residents in parts of Plateau, Nasarawa, the Federal Capital Territory, some parts of Niger and Kwara should keep an eye out for possible thunderstorms, which may likely bring some rainfall. While parts of southern Kebbi, Kaduna, some parts of Adamawa might see some isolated cases of light to moderate showers. In the south, the weather is becoming more active. Heavier storms with gusty winds are expected across parts of Cross River, Akwa Ibom, some parts of Bayelsa, Delta, Rivers, extending inland to parts of Oyo, Ondo, some parts of Edo, Imo, and Ogun states. So wherever you are, stay weather aware and plan your day accordingly. Thank you for watching.
In an age of breaking news, you need a trusted source that prioritizes accurate, factual, and unbiased reporting. This is AM News, and I am Ubong Usoro.
On Global Television, Our news is rooted in verified and authoritative storytelling that keeps you educated, informed, and enlightened on all the issues that matter to you. I am Sadia Yakubu. This is Midday News.
You can trust a multi-platform news broadcast, real-time and fast-check stories for all the big local and foreign headlines round the clock. I am Ramsey Enoch Agbo. This is News Express.
Our array of anchors delivers the news to our teeming viewers, breaking it down with context and perspective. This is News Cycle on Global Television. I am Anieti Patrick.
And the flagship news is your hub for the day's most engaging stories. This is News Prime, and I am Jumai Manson.
Did you miss any of our news rounds? No worries. Catch up at 10 p.m. and midnight, 7 days of the week. I am Mukhtar Kasim.
Global TV is on DSTV channel 365 and Star Times channel 276. We're active across all social media platforms at Global TV NG.
Global TV News, accurate and unbiased. I'm Uyi Agmofwebe. We appreciate you staying with us, everyone. Let's get to talk politics for a second, especially as it has to do with the most recent developments on the opposition front in Nigeria. The ADC, the African Democratic Congress, that is, can be said to, in a manner of speaking, been having a very long night for a while now. As it stands today, the party has said, look, all factors considered, we are going forward with our planned convention. So, all else equal, in a matter of hours, things will be jumping off at the, what some people now call, emergency venue of this convention. Then we're going to take our time to look at the, if you like, milestones that have brought the party to this point where it is today. To cap it all off, the Independent National Electoral Commission now says that following or complying with a valid court order, that's now moved to de-recognize the party altogether. This morning we're joined by Ayodele Adio. He's the African Democratic Congress House of Assembly aspirant in Lagos. We'd like to say a big thank you to you for coming on the program.
Thank you for having me. It's good to be here.
Great. So let's begin with a bit of historical background as to how your party got stuck in the woods at this point.
Well, I'm not sure that we got stuck in the woods. I think that there are boogie traps by the incumbent administration and the APC. The reality is that, we have complied with every provision or every process leading up to this very convention that should be holding today. It was such a shocking decision 3 weeks ago when the Electoral Commission decided to de-recognize the leadership of the ADC. Something we find quite troubling. It was unexpected. And for us, that could only have happened if they were working under pressure or in the influence of people in the corridors of power. Because the basis upon which they took that decision was not only faulty, to a very large extent, it was largely ignorant. Because if you looked at the process leading up from July 20 to 85, INEC itself was present in the NEC meeting where the David Mark-led leadership emerged. They even, filed an affidavit in court, also stressing the fact that they were at that particular meeting that produced that leadership. Not just that. It is that, the recognition of a leadership of a political party is a process and not an event. Right. So you have to check several boxes up until the time where the mere activity of uploading your name on the website becomes a reality, which eventually happened, I think, on the 9th of September.
Last year.
But every other event
that culminated in that particular activity of uploading a name on the website had actually been actualized, right? And then finally, the basis of all of this brouhaha is that a certain Bala Mohammed went to court claiming leadership of the political party, and eventually
Bala Gombe, you meant.
Bala Gombe, sorry,
right?
Claiming leadership of the political party, and we reaching to the Court of Appeal to squash that, and then INEC chose to interpret the status quo ante bellum that was declared by the Court of Appeal as a derecognition of our leadership. Now, to settle this matter is to look at what the law says as at today. There have been several judicial decisions from the Supreme Court that says that intra-party affairs that pertains to the leadership and membership of political parties cannot be justiciable. The Electoral Act 2026, section 83(6) of that act clearly states that intra-party affairs in relations to membership and leadership of the political party is non-justiciable, and no courts shall entertain their internal party affairs. And parties should have internal mechanism to dealing with such disputes. So the law as at today is that individuals or the courts of the land cannot interfere in the internal affairs of political parties. And so to suggest, which clearly the Court of Appeal did not, they recognize our leadership, to base the derecognition of our leadership based on that appeal court decision, I think is overly ridiculous. And of course, like you have seen, it's even gone beyond just that. It has gotten to the point that even to get a convention venue has become a problem for the ADC. We've been denied the use of several even public venues. The one that we secured late yesterday, the owner of that venue has been hounded, and there's a lot of pressure on him to return the funds and shut the door against the ADC. And I find that really shocking, and I'm amazed that at the desperation of the APC to ensure that the party doesn't even hold a simple convention. It's not an election yet.
Just a while ago, you said, my colleague Priscilla will jump right in shortly, but a while ago you mentioned that the interpretation of status quo ante bellum, which the INEC says is actually enforcing right now, it's an offshoot of ignorance on the part of INEC. But your party essentially is saying that it is the influence, or if you like, pressure from the APC that is behind all of these. Is that also your position as you sit here this morning?
Well, of course. Because, listen, let us strip the antebellum thing of it's not an esoteric word. It is simply go back to status quo.
So interpretation has been a problem.
It is not a problem, actually, because as simple as ABC. The court simply said, go back
to when conflict started.
Now ask yourself, what triggered the conflict? Is it not the fact that a leadership emerged that necessitated the gentleman going to court?
Right.
So if you say go back to when the conflict, before this case was filed in court, wasn't it something that triggered it? So common sense says that the reason he went to court was because the leadership emerged. And so you can't pretend to say that there was no leadership when this gentleman went to court. By the way, the case was filed in court on the 2nd of September. 7 days later, the names were uploaded on INEC's portal. So, in other words, are you saying that before September 2nd, or before September 9th, when the names were uploaded, INEC hadn't internally recognized the leadership of the political party? So, these are just mere games by the ruling party to frustrate the process, to delay timelines, and to ensure that we don't meet the required threshold to field candidates in the coming election.
We're going to try to isolate this conversation from all of these matters in court, because apparently they are now subject to litigation. But Priscilla wants to lend a voice.
Well, I am feeling like it's quite relative. Going back to where the conflict started could have been when the disgruntled from the Bala Gombe, right? Started, right? Because that interpretation could mean, okay, before at that point where I didn't feel, or he wasn't happy with the emergence of a new leadership, could be the point where the court is asking
the party to go back to, or INEC to go back to. And INEC decides to say, okay, at that point, we had not recognized this party. At that point where this guy started feeling whatever he was feeling, this party had not emerged. We had not put your names on our portal. Don't you think INEC at this point can be right by interpreting that as
the law does not deal with feelings, right?
I mean, I'm not talking about feelings.
It's on record that the gentleman resigned. You know, the party has resignation letter, and it was even based on that resignation letter that the Electoral Commission acted to recognize the new leadership in the next meeting in July, right? By the way, he went to court on the 2nd of September.
Okay.
There's been video and pictorial evidence that showed that he was part of many of the processes up until a gentleman agreement that he felt was reneged on was what necessitated him to approve.
Between who are the parties of these gentlemen?
He claims that there are certain gentleman agreements that were reneged. There were certain positions that
between who and who?
Is it the current leadership?
Perhaps with the current leadership. Maybe he wanted a position or something and he didn't get it. I'm not privy to that meeting, so I can't speak authoritatively to that. But clearly, he had resigned. He was part of the entire process leading up until the point where he felt disappointed, right? So you cannot then rewind that clock that you're talking about to the point where he felt disappointed because he was already part of the process that led to the recognition of the new leadership that had emerged. But I mean, hopefully the courts are going to decide today because there will be a ruling on the matter today. And the Supreme Court, I think, would also hear the other case today.
I kind of also feel, it is also my opinion though, but I've listened to various parties, I mean, other members of this Bala Gombe, faction of the party. And a lot of them say, these people came into our party, they did not carry us along. Maybe they carried a few people along, but somehow other members of this party that have existed before the party changed leadership, do you think in any way that is true?
Well, you see, people have the right to feel left out. People have a right to feel the way that they feel. But you see, in decisions of leadership in a political party, what you typically need is what you call a quorum, a sizable amount of the leadership of a political party for a decision to sail through, right? So it's almost like a democratic thing where the majority would have their way and the minority would have their say. So the idea that every single member of the political party would have loved a certain leadership to emerge, is a bit utopian. That is not likely to happen. But the law prescribes that a certain amount of people being in the National Executive Committee of a political party should have either resigned or agree substantially to hand over leadership to whoever that they choose to at that particular point in time.
So I'm saying this because, I mean, we saw a similar case happen with the Labour Party.
Yes.
Immediately, Peter Obi, joined the party. We started seeing sabotages, or I don't know if to call them sabotage, but people came out to express their grievances, and then a fracas started to erupt from the party. And then it's almost as though it's happening, the same thing is happening with the ADC currently. Do you think the ADC did not play their cards well? Do you think there are lessons to learn from this, change of power, or change of leadership?
I don't want you to fall into the narrative or the Kool-Aid that the APC and their propagandists are selling, that the reason for all of this brouhaha is because in the Labour Party, for instance, His Excellency Peter Obi did not put his house in order, or the fact that the ADC have been sloppy in putting their own house in order. The reality is that you have an incumbent administration that is massively unpopular, that has spectacularly failed on its promises, and is fearful of a competitive political landscape. And it knows that going into the political season with this level of unpopularity, it cannot guarantee a second term in office. And rather than find ways and avenues of delivering its promises to its people and increasing its electoral chances, it has decided to pursue avenues, repressive avenues, to stifle opposition, to force them away from the ballot, and to ensure that it's the only existing political party without any credible alternative going into the election. That is exactly what you're seeing. It's not about how the ADC have organized themselves. I mean, in our party, we have one of the most experienced politicians who have held offices at the highest level. They're not stupid people. The same for the Labour Party. So the real issue here is a political leadership in the APC that has failed the Nigerian people, has been unable to live up to its promises, has presided over one of the worst insecurity situations in the country, has presided over the worst poverty levels in this country, rent hikes, poverty hikes, the cost of living crisis is widening, and it cannot make a case before the electorate. So its only option is to be repressive and ensure that it doesn't have a credible alternative going to the elections in January.
It appears this issue is beyond what we hear or see on the surface. For example, we understand the state chairman of your party, they do not see eye to eye, politically speaking, right, with the David Mark-led leadership. For example, a couple of days ago, in the course of the week that was, I hosted the chairman of Benue State of the ADC here, and he said, look, they are not in bed with the David Mark-led wing of the party. That again speaks to how much of disarray, if you like, is happening within the party. Second, just at about dinner time yesterday, news came through that former Vice President Atiku Abubakar has been suspended in his hometown of Adamawa. Are these not issues that are going to haunt and hurt the ADC for a long time to come?
No, I don't think so. I just think these issues are overly amplified. People sit in their bedrooms, make ridiculous press statements and say you're suspending Alhaji Atiku Abubakar. I mean, this is becoming comedic, if you ask me, right? I mean, I don't know about several other state chairmen. The chairman in Lagos State, George Ashiru, is clearly aligned with the leadership of the ADC, the David Mark-led leadership.
36 of them?
I'm talking about the leadership of Lagos that I know of and that I work with.
But that's just one out of 36 chairmen.
I'm saying that the one that I know, because I haven't seen many of those.
So does your party not have chairmen across the other states?
We have chairmen across every other state.
Are they aligned?
Because what happened was, you see, when the transition happened, every other chairman across the 36 states were retained. They were not replaced at the time, right? So every other chairman, the entire structure at the state level remained as it were for every other state across the country. It was only the national leadership that changed and was ratified at the NEC meeting in July, but every other state leadership stayed through, right? So if you have a few disgruntled elements at the state level, perhaps they have their reasons for being disgruntled. Like I kept saying, they have a right to be unhappy. But it doesn't change the fundamental fact that a new leadership emerged through a transparent, credible process that was recognized and legitimized by INEC in July 2025. So for me, having to dwell on these pedestrian issues of certain people holding a press conference in their backyard saying they suspend, the former vice president of the federation is just purely comedic.
I really think that the ADC is not looking in depth to this issue. I understand that there can be an element of maybe the opposition trying to stifle the net, but at the same time, now you have said that every other chairman across the 36 states were retained. I think I've heard something different. I have seen disgruntled from state chairman of the ADC. There are times I've tried to reach out to a state chairman of a particular, a state chairman of ADC in a particular state, and he says, "Oh, I don't have the power. The person in charge of this is the national blah blah blah, the national blah." I get those comments, really, I do, and they appear as though they don't have any authority whatsoever to even speak to the press.
They are not so sure.
Exactly, they've not been given the mandate to speak out. And in a way, I understand how it makes them feel. It makes them feel trampled upon. Maybe they might not come out to say it, but I really feel.
But again, I'm not sure which chairman you're speaking.
Well, I don't want to call out names right now. But I'm telling you this for a fact that I have reached out to.
Yes.
State chairman, a particular state chairman, and then he says, "I can't speak because you need to meet this person." And I talked to the person. maybe the national. I think the national, he directed me to a national. I can't really know.
Yes.
I can't really remember. And then the guy says, "Oh, I for one too cannot speak." So they appear as though they don't have. They appear as though they don't have the authority. They've not been given the authority. Maybe they've given some leadership positions, but without the right authority to carry
And
out.
just to lend credence to what Priscilla is
Yes.
saying, I also reached out to a chairman of your party from the southeast, a lawyer himself.
Yeah.
He happens to have been in Abuja for a couple of days, and he graciously agreed to honor our invitation. And just before dawn, he leaves me a message, giving me an extensive text as to the reason he couldn't come to the program. And one of the things he mentioned was that there was a court case between the state chairman and the national leadership of the party at that time. So he didn't want to, especially being a lawyer and knowing the implications, go surgery this. Therefore, he couldn't come on this program. That was about a fortnight ago. Now, the point with all of this is, will your party, that's my first question, not be living in denial to say that, look, all is well within the APC? Second is to say that, the ADC, when you go to bed, as an individual, someone who loves the party and hopefully will run on the platform of the party, does it not strike you that the ADC must have missed out something in terms of due diligence before the David Mark-led, if you like, wing came into this party?
First, let me just quickly touch on your experience with that particular state chairman. Right. Sometimes, and you should know this in crisis communication, it is always advisable to ensure that the person who speaks for the party or on behalf of the party is the person that has all of the information to speak at a particular point in time.
In which case, reference should be made to that person.
Exactly.
It wasn't the case.
Yeah.
In this instance,
so if he says, I can't speak on this, you should speak to somebody else, perhaps he didn't have as much information as he should at that particular point in time. And I'm just imagining, because there's no time, like I keep saying, there's no time you try to speak with George Ashiru, which I probably would even give you his number so you can reach out to him for interviews when you want, that he's not willing to speak. He's been on television, he's been on radio, speaking on behalf of the ADC Lagos, right? So I don't think that's a challenge. But to your question about whether or not we crossed our T's or we dotted our I's, again, let's go back to, because you can only match this with the validation from the electoral umpire.
We're talking about the benefit of hindsight. Yes. That has to do with the conversation that happened at the party level amongst the national leadership before you went on with other processes.
Yes. And again, like I said, in a transition process, there's a legal side, and obviously there's a social side. And to that extent, what I mean is when you're trying to build internal cohesion going forward, right? Now, there is no doubt that we passed the legal threshold, because without passing that legal threshold, INEC will not come to your meeting, neither would it recognize the leadership that has emerged, right? So on a legal standpoint, we had crossed our T's and dotted our I's. Now, you can make an argument that we haven't done as much on the social side in terms of building internal cohesion, and things like that. That's an argument that you can make. You can also make the argument that we haven't done enough in strengthening internal communications so that a chairman, for instance, or a stakeholder in Benue that you reach out to has all the information that he needs to appear on radio, on television, to make a case on behalf of the party. That's an argument that you can make. But the reality is, the party has been pressed for time. We really and truly have just about a year to put together a formidable coalition to challenge the incumbent administration, and it has its hand full with several activities that may or not necessarily leave as much time available to build that kind of internal party cohesion that many would have loved to see. The thinking of the party has always been that once a candidate emerges, which would happen sometime in May, once party representative emerge at that particular period through the primaries across the country, then the party can then have rallying points across the national, state, and local governments to begin to then build that internal consensus, to stretch to extend the olive branch, to bring all parties together, to solve whatever internal problems that exist in wherever places that they do exist, and have, a formidable house to contend with the opposition. So, again, people have to realize what we're up against and think about the fact that a political party cannot get a venue. And then you begin to realize what the party is up against at a national level. People say, why didn't we try to register a party from the scratch? We did. INEC is not going to register a political party that has the particulars and information of many of these opposition leaders, and it is not going to happen.
Was there an attempt?
Of course there was an attempt to do that, right? But it was never going to happen. So, again, like I said, you have one of the most experienced politicians in the ADC. These are not silly people. David Mark has been Senate President for 8 years. He's been governor. He's sat at the Supreme Military Council. I mean, he's by no stretch ignorant about certain processes, about building a political party. So what we are facing is an incumbent that is bent on disrupting the activities of opposition political parties to ensure that we find it difficult to put our acts together leading up to the elections.
Well, there's no denying of that fact. Basically, I want to say, what are the efforts? I know you guys have had a series of caucus meetings. I'm quite curious to know what has come out of that. And as much as we are pointing fingers, they say a house divided against itself cannot stand. So what are the efforts to see that indeed you are able to coalesce with your members, the disgruntled members, right? Is it basically you just pointing at the court or INEC, the APC, or are there efforts to see that you talk to people internally in the party that feel angry, that feel disgruntled, to see how you can put your house together? Because the reason why an APC can penetrate is because they can target members that are not happy and then use them to do whatever they want to do with the party. So what are the efforts that ADC have put in place to ensure that all members are, calm?
I think those efforts are ongoing. I can tell you for a fact that they are ongoing. Recall that we just concluded ward and local government congresses and state congresses, right? So essentially, we've just had a situation where credible leadership have emerged on the ward, local government, and state level. So you can, over the next couple of weeks, those leadership and those structures that have emerged at the state level will start the work of building that consensus and internal cohesion in their various state, local governments, and ward level. That's the work that they're going to be putting in over the next couple of weeks, because now we have leadership that have emerged through a credible and transparent process, and members are going to rally around those leadership across the states and across the local governments. Today we're going to elect national officers at the convention. Once that happens, everybody are also going to coalesce and rally around the national leadership that emerges from the political party at the center. And so what happens essentially is that everyone is now clear as to who, for instance, is your national publicity secretary, as to who, for instance, is your national organizing secretary, as to who, for instance, is your state chairman, is your local government chairman, is your local government organizing secretary. It becomes clear, and everyone falls in line, and work together as an individual unit to build and strengthen the party at those various levels. So that process that you talk about has just begun by the emergence of this leadership at the local and at the state level, and obviously will be culminated when the emergence of the leadership happens at the national level today.
Do you not think that I don't want to call this adamant, but the ADC are proving adamant to whatever the court is saying, or let's say INEC interpretation of the court, or don't you think going ahead with the convention would put the ADC at a disadvantage?
No, we've given them due notice for the convention. The law says give 21-day notice, which was duly given to INEC, and they acknowledged the notice.
So acknowledgement is not a guarantee that they are going to monitor the
The law is also clear about the monitoring of exercise, that INEC's role is just simply to monitor an exercise. It does not have any
It's
powers.
not an endorsement?
It is not an endorsement. It doesn't have any powers to determine the outcome of a convention or to legitimize the outcome of a convention. His role is merely...
Even for a party that has been formally derecognized?
Yes, so that's why I'm saying that, because the argument is INEC may not come and monitor. Like, again, the law is clear on that their role is just merely observatory.
So it's inconsequential.
It's inconsequential.
But they need
whether
to
they
monitor.
come.
They really do.
So the law is also clear on that, right? And it's also been decided by the Supreme Court. It is just routine, right, for INEC to come and monitor. It doesn't change the facts on ground. That whether they monitor or not doesn't mean it has a bearing on the leadership that emerges at the convention, at the end of the day. So if they choose to come, so be it. If they choose not to, fine. But we have done what is required by law, which is to send in, a notice and to have the commission acknowledge that notice, which has also been acknowledged by the commission.
Let's talk about the venue. You've said that you have reached out to the FCT minister. I don't know if particularly you went to the FCT, but the FCT minister has come out to say, I did not see any notification. I have not received any.
No formal request was made. Tell me, in fact, I do not even recognize the political party in this case.
But I want to say, sometimes I just don't think, I don't think it's even necessary to ventilate on issues pertaining with the minister of the FCT. I just don't think we do the public any good by having this very needless back and forth. I'm sure if you have been online, you would have seen the letters that were written to many of these organizations and the acknowledgement. Of course, then the acknowledgement again. You see, the problem is, again, you are dealing with people who have been in political party administration for at least 20 years. Again, these are not stupid people, right? So, I mean, the idea that we don't know who to write to, I mean, again, let's not feed into this nonsense that is being peddled by people in the opposition or by perhaps the minister of the FCT. We are not stupid people, right? We know who to write, to secure a venue. And we have done that, and that venue was denied. I mean, what do we have to...
What are the evidences that...
What do we have to...
Denied indeed, because, I mean, we need to see that...
Were you formally declined?
Again, this particular actor...
Which of the actors now? We have a lot of them.
The minister for the FCT was primarily responsible for denying venues for the PDP presidential candidate, Atiku, when he tried to come campaign in Port Harcourt. I mean, it is public knowledge. When he was governor? Yes, when he was governor of Rivers State. In fact, that one even made it public, right? The PDP could not campaign, could not secure a venue to do anything in Rivers State. So it is true to type. That's what he does. That's his MO, right? So what the party wants to set up a convention. We're ready to set up a convention. Why should we be playing hanky-panky whether we have a hall or not? I mean, let's call a spade what it is. People have traveled from all over the country to come for a convention today, and then we'll be playing games with our people that we can't secure a venue. If there wasn't a deliberate attempt to deny us a place, let me tell you, when I wanted to do my declaration in Lagos, I had paid for a venue. In the morning of that event, when banners were being set up and the place was being decorated, I got a call from the person I had paid in full to use that venue.
Was it a private facility?
Yes. I had paid in full. The person called me that morning to send an account to do a refund. He didn't know it was an ADC event. Wow. That I wasn't clear about it. That all I said was going to be... I'm like, what do you mean I wasn't clear about it? I told you I wanted to do a formal declaration. What do you think I was declaring for? A cult? Right? So, this happened to me.
In Lagos State?
In Lagos State. Right? If you follow the news, it happened, to the former governorship candidate for the Labour Party in 2023, at Rhodes Vival. There was widespread violence at his declaration. His own sister, was attacked. She had 7 stitches on her head. So this is what they do. So for us, to be pretending that, did you people write letter? Did they acknowledge letter? I think it makes a mockery of the entire process, at the end of the day, and not... highlight what the real problem is, which is that an unpopular incumbent is trying to stifle the opposition. I mean, why should people be threatening venue owners not to rent out their property or their space to a political party for an event?
Let me put up 2 more questions in front of you. First of all, exactly 6 days ago, we saw all of the big wigs in your party gathered at former Senator David Mark's house here in Abuja. We also saw incumbent governor for your state, Seyi Makinde, there, who only said that he was visiting to pay, show solidarity with the leadership of your party at that point in time. On the basis of that, there's now speculation that there's a pretty good chance that Mr. Makinde may be moving to the ADC. That's number one. Number two is this last weekend, we saw, again, the leadership of your party, led by Senator Mark, paying another sort of visit. We have not found a name for that just yet, to the leadership of the People's Redemption Party, PRP. Is that the ADC probably saying, at this point, you don't lay your eggs in one basket? Let's begin to look for a contingency of some kind in good enough time.
Well, I'm not privy to the meeting with the PRP.
But was there a meeting at all?
Of course there was a meeting. I mean, it's public knowledge that he met with the leadership of the PRP. But the details of that meeting have not been made public. Neither am I aware, of the details of that meeting. But again, it's been clear that we're about building a wide tent and bringing as much people in the opposition together under one house to go against the APC in the coming elections. So perhaps that was the kind of engagement that had happened to ensure that all the opposition voices in the country coalesce under one house to compete with the APC. But like I said, I'm not privy to the details, of that particular meeting, so I can't speak authoritatively to what may have transpired or what conversations were held in that particular meeting.
I think I also saw an interview where Peter Obi made mention of the fact that he might move.
Yeah, he gave that hint, and that has also raised debates across social media.
Again, this is the problem. He did not say he might move.
But he hinted.
He did. No, he didn't even hint. What he clearly stated was the reason why he left Labour Party, why he left ABGA, for the Labour, for the PDP first, and why he left the PDP for the Labour Party, right? And in his closing remarks in that particular thought, he said that he cannot be part of transactional politics, which that's what made him leave the PDP for the Labour Party at the end of the day. And the interviewer asked him that, don't you think you are moving parties too many times? And he said if he has to move 20 times, although he doesn't have so much time to spend in his political career, but if he has to move 20 times to prove that he doesn't want to do transactional politics, he will do that. So that's the point he made. He did not hint at the fact that he was likely to leave the ADC. I think it's just been blown amount of proportion.
It's quite concerning that a political member or a leader is, not very strongly rooted in a particular party, gets to move from party, because that's the concern of many Nigerians. Like, can't you stay in the party and fix it? I mean, you're the leader. How do you intend to fix the country if you cannot fix your party? You keep moving from party to party. Is that supposed to be a fact?
I think people do not understand how political parties work in Nigeria. If people knew and understand the realities and the internal dynamics of political parties in Nigeria, you would understand why Peter Obi was pressed to move at the time that he did. There are so many times that it is not your decision to leave a political party, but the internal reality sometimes forces your hand and you're left with no other option than to leave for peace to reign or to leave to pursue an ambition, right? So if, for instance, you're in a political party where you are told that there's going to be a primary election at the end of the month, you buy forms to contest that primary elections, and when the primary elections come, they tell you, oh, the party has decided on somebody else, so you just step down. I mean, does that make any sense to you? So if that kind of person leaves that political party to say that, there wasn't a level playing field to contest, would you judge the person for leaving that political party?
Was that the case with Peter Obi?
No, I'll just give you an example, right? That there are issues within political parties that force people to come to terms with a decision to either leave that political party to further their ambition or for peace to reign at the end of the day. So we can't just say people leave political parties because they are not committed to developing that political party. Sometimes the situation in those political parties become very volatile, that you either suspend your ambition or you leave to pursue.
So Nigeria as a whole has maybe a more complex reality. If you want to be a president of a country, you need to know that you will see worse than what you see in political party politics, right? So you become a president and somebody is there trying to sabotage your efforts. Do you tell me that at that point where you're faced with such reality, you resign or run away?
Again, you see, again, the point is, don't fall for these straw man arguments that people make. Oh, he ran from a political party. How is he going to govern a country? A country is not governed by the strength of individuals. It's governed by the rule of law. What the president does is that you strengthen the rule of law. And you do that by leading by example and submitting yourself to due process. And that in turn strengthens institutions and strengthens the rule of law. So this straw man argument that you constantly want strong men to force people together to buy their way through is precisely the reason why we're in this mess of a country that we're in. And Nigerian people have to actually choose what they really want at the end of the day. Do you want a transactional leader who bullies his way through, uses violence, and buys his way through internal processes? Or you want credible institutions where you have a say in the nomination process of candidates and how candidates emerge that reflect the true yearnings of the people in those political parties? And should such a person emerge at the national level, won't you be confident that that person will take time to build credible institutions and ensure that when you go to court, there will not be interference in court? When you go to the police station, they are following the rule of law and not the rule of the strong man of the jungle, right? Or when you go to seek services in any government institution, that they are subject to the rule of law. That is how nations are built and that's how nations are governed. And so the idea that, because he could not deal with the issues in Labour Party, if he becomes president, he's also going to run away from office. I just think it's a lazy argument that people make to ensure that they continue this brand of politics.
Will it not be hypocritical, or if you like, some sort of manifestation of double standard?
Yes.
If we say you're avoiding or you're shielding yourself from transactional politics, and then we keep hearing every now and then, even from senior members, organic members of the ADC, that it was a series of transactions that brought about the emergence of the Mark-led
I don't know about those transactions. I know about negotiations. So I don't know.
Is it because those transactions were above your pay grade, or they never happened at all?
Here's the funny thing. It's quite interesting because I joined the ADC from the Youth Party. I was the National Publicity Secretary of the Youth Party. And I can tell you for free that our party was approached to be the National Coalition Party. And we had a series of engagements with many of the leaders today in the ADC on how we could transition as the National Coalition Party. We talked about tweaking certain things in the Constitution. We talked about the spread of political party holders at the time. And it was purely conversational, and negotiations were being done. Never in the course of that conversation was Naira and Kobo discussed. It was whether we wanted to be part of a big tent, whether we agreed to the terms like, changing a few things in the Constitution that allowed, that was more comfortable for every member of that coalition team, whether or not we're content with how the national office positions was going to be spread. Those were the basis of the discussion and negotiations. They had nothing to do with transactions. So I believe that the same way we were engaged and the same way the conversations were held was perhaps the same way it happened in the ADC. Because remember, there were conversations with 3-4 political parties simultaneously. Conversations were being held with the SDP, which was spearheaded by Nasiru El-Rufai at the time. Right? Did you hear about transactions there? It just did not work out, with the SEC. Because perhaps certain things were not agreed upon, which is the prerogative of the political party. So they don't have to agree with what you're proposing. Do you understand? So, and if the parties agree, then you have a conversation to move that conversation forward. So I can assure you that it was nothing transactional. It was largely about negotiations and how to build the national tent that will compete against the ruling party. And so it wasn't about Naira and Kobo, as far as I know.
You mentioned that Nigeria is governed by rule of law. And then you also said that in passing to respond to the fact that Peter Obi is not, we shouldn't expect him to, subject members of the party or use some kind of persona to, make things, dictate things to members of this party. I want to ask, do you think our political parties in Nigeria need some sort of, maybe, reforms as to its leadership, as to its modus operandi? As to
Perhaps. I'm with you on that we need to build political parties around ideas and an ideology that we can commit ourselves to. Now, on paper, many of these political parties profess certain kinds of ideological framework, but in reality, there is very little fidelity to those ideas, right? So I'm with you on the fact that we need to build political parties around these ideas. But the problem that we have is that there's so much hunger in Nigeria, there's so much poverty, there's so much misgovernance over the years, that our people, because center right, center left, right left appeals to educated people who have a sense, who have a level of education, a level of orientation, and a set of beliefs, right? The man who has not eaten for 3 days doesn't understand center, left, right politics.
Because they are purely ideological.
Yeah, he doesn't understand those things. He wants to eat. He wants to feed, right? So, if you marry that with the level of development and education in our country, you would understand why our politics is not so grounded in ideology, even though I fundamentally believe that while people are trapped in poverty and unemployment and frustration, it is exactly ideological leanings that will lift people out of poverty. And people need to lead on an ideological level and show a proof of concept that indeed my ideas can lift this community out of poverty. And then people in turn will believe in that ideology, and you can build a base around that particular ideology. So I believe there's a hard work of that needs to be done. But that will take at least a decade or two for it to sink in. And people have to be committed to those ideology for the long term.
So what's the ADC actually pitching to Nigeria in 2027? What's it going to sell differently to Nigerians?
Well, again, I would speak, to answer that question, I can speak to what, the ADC in Lagos or perhaps the ADC in my local government or constituency is going to
say. Are we not talking about ADC in partitions?
No, the reason I'm saying that is that we're going to release our manifesto next week. Remember that we have set up a 50-man committee called the Wise Men to work on the direction of travel for the party, the programs that we're going to pursue, our economic agenda, our national security agenda, and things like that. And there'll be a formal presentation of that document sometime next week, and it will be clear what the ADC wants to do differently, for the Nigerian people. I don't want to preempt that, so I'd rather say that you will be privy to that information by next week, and you'll be privy to you have the opportunity to scrutinize that document, and I'm happy to be challenged on the details of that document when they finally emerge, sometime next week. But I can assure you that based on the ideology of the political party, we're a party that are not we're not market fundamentalists. We believe that every strata of society have to be carried along. What you rather call, we believe in wealth distribution. We believe that, the poor cannot or should not be left behind. We want to build a big tent for Nigeria. We want a government that works for the majority of Nigerians and not one that works for just the rich and the affluent, in the society. That much I can say. But the details of that, the breakdown of that would happen next week, and then we can have a broader conversation around it.
I'm afraid we can't push the limits beyond this point in this conversation, but we'll be keeping an eye out. Today is a big day for your party.
Yes, it is.
Apparently that's the reason you are in town. We wish your party the best at this point. Thank you so very much, Ayodele Adio.
Thank you for having me.
ADC, House of Assembly aspirants in Lagos State, for coming to share this valuable insight with us. This is where we leave it on Global Morning today. Remember, as always, that the views of our guests are their opinions. I am Uyi Agmofwegwe.
And I am Priscilla Obasi, wishing you a beautiful day ahead. Bye for now.